future, the greatest threat to our survival will not be man at all.
Hey, kid, what's going on? It's war! We're going to war!
Now, the youth of tomorrow must travel across the stars to defend our world.
We are a generation commanded by fate to defend humankind.
Everyone fights, no one quits.
Prepare for battle and journey to the front lines of the next frontier.
Kill them all!
Starship Troopers.
Hey everybody, welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Allen.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devon.
And today we are watching a movie that Ryan has been trying to get me to watch since we started this damn show. And we finally caved. Today we are talking about Super Troopers.
Oh my God, I hate you so much. Starship Troopers.
Oh shit, I watched the wrong movie. Sorry guys, that's it for today.
As you hear what sounds like a potato bag getting beaten up, I'm pummeling Allen.
Yeah. Al, please, no, stop. No, today we're talking about Starship Troopers.
Yes.
A 1997 film, sci-fi film.
Yes.
I'm just gonna let you take it away. Describe the movie. What the hell? What the hell did we just watch?
Okay.
What did we watch?
Starship Troopers was a film that was that came out in 1997. That was based off a book that was written, if my memory is correct, by a veteran. The book is very is very much like the movie, but it's got a lot of fans and a lot of critics. And I feel like this movie, even though it definitely goes away from the storyline of the book to a point, I feel like the controversy around the book kind of goes into the movie as well. This is what I would say pure sci-fi. Like this, if you're a sci-fi fan and you like a little bit of corniness, this movie's for you. The effects, I feel, stand up today to a point, because there's other movies that have come out after this one in the 90s where the effects were a lot worse.
I've seen movies in the last 3 years where the effects were worse.
Were worse than this.
I agree.
There's definitely a point to say that some of the actors in it, there's maybe 2 or 3 that have had solid careers after this movie came out. The rest of them not as much. When it comes to A-list celebrities.
Oh my God.
Much. Yeah.
Oh, we have so much to talk about because I'm looking at the list. It's like, that's who that was?
Yeah. Yeah. See what I mean? Like there's a lot of people
to
in
somebody's son?
No, the biology teacher. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Okay, good.
Okay, so first thing I want to say, this movie is directed by Paul Verhoeven, who directed RoboCop. Have you guys seen RoboCop?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
What?
I've never seen RoboCop.
How?
I figured the title gave away the whole plot to the movie, so I didn't need to watch it.
Okay, that's going on the list. That's happening soon. I got major RoboCop vibes from this, and I love that. I love the first 2 RoboCops.
Mm-hmm.
He only did the first
Wait, there's
one.
more than one RoboCop?
There are 2 that count, and then 2 more that were like straight to DVD, like made for cable.
And then there were a bunch more that weren't even like C-list movies that take on the same RoboCop character. And then there was that remake that they did a few years ago that nobody likes to talk about.
That had Michael Keaton in it for some reason.
Wait, was the reboot not good?
What reboot in the last few years has been?
That's a good point.
Like this one here, like they did a PG-13 reboot of an R-rated movie. That's all I need to say. That's all I need to say.
Yeah, you got it.
I will say it was fine for what it was, but it wasn't RoboCop.
It was not RoboCop. I feel like it was an introduction to like science fiction. I feel like it was one of those movies where it's like, you know, like a young kid, maybe 10, 11 years old, like, oh, what's sci-fi? Well, here's the remake of RoboCop. This kind of gives you a chapter of sci-fi.
So spoiling a little bit of what I saw from RoboCop in this is the use of media as a transition tool.
Yes.
Like in this, you had the, do you want to know more?
Yeah.
Like, that, like I see that in RoboCop with the I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Devon and anyone who hasn't seen RoboCop.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
You will.
You will.
Damn, I can't believe you never. I can't believe this.
I really
no. It was
really
one of. I just was too
his,
pretentious for that movie for the longest time.
I want to yank his millennial card. I really do.
Do it. Take it back.
Anyway, the other thing that I noticed was just like the blood and guts, like on both ends. So the I want to say resistance, but the Federation side and the bug side, like just the blood and guts everywhere.
The
like
arachnids.
The gore of this. And it's not like gore to be gore. It's like cartoony gore.
Well, it's cartoony gore for the arachnids and for the bugs. For the humans, I feel like it's authentic war gore. Like it's the type of gore you would see on a battlefield to a point. I'm not talking about them being flipped around with their body parts being chopped off. I'm talking about like them showing like the body spread out at that Mormon base that the Federation told them not to
you know
build,
what this
and they
movie felt
do.
to me like? It felt like a World War II movie in space. Like in a way that a lot of the brutality was like really portrayed.
And here's the thing though, like I completely agree with the World War II thing, but I was like, okay, so the bugs are the Nazis. And then at the end you had Neil Patrick Harris in like the Nazi officer uniform. I was like, wait, so are the humans the Nazis? Like which one is it?
But they were all wearing that uniform to a point, because even the soldiers, and even though I know that you two have seen those costumes in multiple other shows.
Yeah, I watched Power Rangers Lost Galaxy.
Yeah, in the scene where they are doing the burial scene in space. When she gets shot out into the void. And you look at them, they're all wearing the gray and black, like, like their dress uniforms.
Yeah.
And that's a callback to the book. One of the criticisms of the book that this movie is based on is that it portrays fascism in a light that is almost positive, because it's showing that the entire world is like together and unified, and we're able to like share this space. That's something that they alluded to in the movie when they use that South American like city.
Buenos Aires.
As being like where all these characters are from. But if you look around, like I really don't think there's that many white people in that city, to be perfectly honest. But in the movie and in the book, it shows that it's diverse, it's equal, but it's also really heavily fascist.
Well, there's a lot. So like, I almost want, after watching this movie, just like a movie or a documentary about the culture behind this whole civilization, because they bring up such very interesting and very unique viewpoints on a lot of things, like the whole concept of like, you could be a civilian but not a citizen, and what does it mean to be a citizen, and what citizenship gains you, and then like the whole like public beatings are just okay, like when he got whipped for like being like insubordinate. Like there's a lot of really interesting things to this society that I feel like could be worth digging into.
Yeah.
And the thing is, from what you're talking about, my favorite movie quote, like top 3 movie quotes of all time, comes from this movie, and it's something that I've always like kind of put close to myself ever since I was a kid when I first saw this film. And it's when the history professor, Ratchek, says, you need to figure this out on your own. The only real freedom we have is our freedom to make a decision. Now I'm paraphrasing what the line was, but that's what he tells Rico when he asks him, hey, what should I do? And he says, the only real freedom you have is to figure things out on your own. I've always put that close to myself, because to be perfectly honest, no matter how much freedom people say that you have, that's really it.
Yeah.
Like that, like it's like, seriously, that's the definition of it. True freedom is being able to just decide on your own of what you need to do and being able to do it. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's as far as it goes.
True, though.
Okay,
I'm good now.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the cast members. So we have Casper Van Dien as Johnny Rico, and I have a confession to make.
Yeah.
At one point, they call him Rico for like the first 30 minutes of the movie, and they never say his first name. And when it got to his parents, he was like, his name's Rico, not Johnny. Like I thought there was just a mistake in the movie, and they called him Johnny.
Johnny Rico.
He is best known for Starship Troopers, and I guess he was in that Alita Battle Angel movie that just came out.
Was
and
he really?
He was also in Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus.
A movie close to my heart.
Yes. the cinematic classic. Okay, so then we have Denise Richards, who
Obviously.
outside of Starship Troopers is best known for The World Is Not Enough, where she played Dr. Christmas Jones. That was a
Bond.
That was a Bond girl name, Dr. Christmas Jones, played by Denise Richards.
You're not going to bring up Wild Things? That's my favorite Denise Richards movie by a long shot.
Never seen it.
That's the third one. So, and I guess she was in Love Actually. I haven't seen Wild Things either. So, do I need to put that on the list?
I don't know if I want to make you guys watch Wild Things, because I just think that would go into a realm of a conversation that none of us really want to have.
It always struck me as like softcore porny, and I never really was that interested in it.
It kind of is, but without the like nudity part to a point. Like they allude to it, and there's a lot of see-through stuff, but there's never like bare
overt.
Yeah. It does have a very interesting storyline, though. You guys can watch it on your own.
I think nowadays Denise Richards is most known for being Charlie Sheen's ex, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's and she had a reality I forgot about
TV
that.
Show. She had a reality TV show at one point.
Who hasn't?
Yeah, I know, but okay. So she had it when reality TV for celebrities went to its peak. When they had the one for the redhead that was like the youngest kid on either the Brady Bunch or
she was on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
She was on that. She was also on. There was a different one, but I can't remember what it was.
I'm not seeing it on here.
But so for people listening, you've got Johnny Rico and Denise Richards are at the beginning of the film. They're like lovebirds. They're high school, which I find funny. High school sweethearts to a point, which I don't know if this society, if they're supposed to be 18 years old or if they're supposed to be their actual age, and you're just in school for that long because they put college and like college and normal high school education together. So I mean, I've never really cared about that. Like, oh, adults playing kids. Like I never cared about that in this movie.
I liked how the first 30 minutes of the movie was just them in high school.
Yeah.
Like this movie breaks into 30 minutes, and then an hour. And the first 30 minutes is just a high school drama.
Yeah.
Like you've got the sports game where they're going to sports, and then you have the dance where they're going to dance and like, ooh, I want to dance with her, but she's with him, and all the high school drama bullshit.
They hit all the beats.
They did.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have like the test and somebody not doing well and all the different.
And then
classes.
like the bully moment where someone's like, "Oh, you got a C."
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't get a C. He scored like 37% on that math test when she got like 102.
Oh, that was
yeah.
Oh,
and that was Neil Patrick Harris that did that. It was his friend, quote unquote friend, that went over and put his board on so everybody could see. But he was the star player in the football team, so nobody cared. Yeah, they're friends. Yeah. In this movie, they're friends.
Okay, so then we also have the love interest who loves him, but he's involved with Denise Richards. It's played by Dina Meyer.
Now I have to Diz. Yeah. Now I have to say, my first celebrity character crush as a kid.
Yeah.
Okay, like I'm talking like because it was 1997, so I was 13.
Okay.
Yeah, 13. So like that first like preteen, like she's a like celebrity crush was that actress because of this movie.
Aww.
And it happened before the 10th scene. So you can't go and say, oh, it was because of that. No, it was not because of that.
I feel like I can see that.
Yeah.
I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't Denise Richards, it was Diz.
It wasn't little Gary Busey either though. So you're good.
Oh, Jerry Busey.
I love him in this. Like he is one of my favorite characters in this movie.
Yeah, Jake Busey was fun in this. I'll call him by his name because he's earned it for this one.
You call him by his name.
I went the whole Stranger Things episode calling him little Gary Busey.
That's true.
And I didn't even catch he called him by his dad's name when I said, yeah, him.
And then we have Neil Patrick Harris, who we talked about, who plays like kind of the typical Neil Patrick Harris character that we've come to know lately.
Yeah. Like
kind of an asshole. Like kind of fun, kind of an asshole.
But at the same time, like I'll get to it.
For some reason, he kind of is psychic. Like that's weird. Like
But at the same time, they explain that though.
They do, and then they don't.
No. They do. Okay, so during one of the newsreels, they talk about how, like psychic, or they have their terminology they use. Tests are being done in your area, and they show the chair that Johnny Rico is in, but they're in Neil Patrick's character's basement, and he's doing the card thing behind his head where he has to guess the cards, and they explain it real quick. Johnny gets upset because he's not getting any of them right. And it's almost a joke because Neil Patrick Harris says, even statistically speaking, you should have gotten one right by now. And so he does it again and he gets it wrong. And then he asks him about, well, how about you? And he said, well, I'm pretty good at it, but scientists think that this is just another leap in human evolution. And then that's when he tells his pet ferret to go crawl up his mother's leg, and you hear her drop the pots and pans in the kitchen and a scream.
It's just one of those things that like book ends the movie. Like it's at the beginning and it's at the very end and nowhere in between. And I just found that a little strange. In the book, it's more of a thing from what I've heard.
Oh, really?
So that would make sense. Yeah. Is it just one book or is it a series of books?
As far as I know, there's just one book. It's one of those things where I like the movie so much and I know it's based off a book, but because of my history with dyslexia and having a hard time, like it's not as hard for me now to get through a book as it was before. Like my reading's gotten a lot better, but because of that, when I was a kid and teenager and when I was in college, I didn't develop a disdain or a distaste for reading. It was just something that I avoided because it was something that was too frustrating. But now it's to the point where it's not frustrating. It's fun. So there's a ton of books that I want to read, and that book's kind of like way off in the distance for me, so I haven't had a chance to read it. But I do know some things about it in relation to the movie because I like the movie so much.
Okay. I want to suggest Audible. Like I know you have a lot of time to listen to stuff, so Audible.
Oh yeah, especially with my new job since I'm driving all the time now.
The one podcast not sponsored by Audible. But no, I went on there today and I got a full cast recording of a Star Wars book about Count Dooku.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Sign me up.
So it was kind of like a radio play.
Yeah, it's a radio play about Count Dooku before episode 2.
Nice.
So
that's pretty cool.
Looking forward to
that. I like
that.
Count Dooku.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Starship
They didn't do him
Troopers.
justice in the movies. Just saying.
That's a whole mini episode we can talk about. I think we did.
All right. I'm sure we did.
And it never got posted.
Yeah. Oh, it'll get posted.
Good.
Okay, so we were on the psychic thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's pretty much all I had to say about it. It
that's what
shows up. Yeah. All right. So
I just think being psychic's hard to show on movies. Like I think that's a plot point that gets taken out of books a lot because it's just hard to be like hard staring at a camera for a second and then for something to pop up in it not to look cheesy.
Unless you're The Shining, and then it's just like long drawn out shots of people staring into the space.
Yeah, but they did that exceptionally well.
Yeah.
You could always do it with music. Get an orchestra, and whenever something psychic happens, you just put like a little violin note in there or something, like some strings.
I feel like that's how it's done a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Fine, screw it, brass. A giant
figured
tuba.
it out.
A giant tuba.
All right, so going through some of the supporting cast that we have here. So we have Clancy Brown, who plays Zim, Sergeant Zim.
I love Sergeant Zim.
The drill instructor. What do you guys know Clancy Brown from? Because I know you know him, but do you know him from like off the top of your head?
I recognize him.
I don't think I do.
From other things, but I can't place it.
He's Mr. Krabs on SpongeBob.
See, that I wouldn't have gotten in a million years.
Yes.
Okay.
He was in Shawshank Redemption. Starship Troopers is like number 2 for him on this. He was the voice of Solter in Ragnarok. Devin, you'd know him from Lost. He was the guy in the hatch with Desmond.
Oh my gosh, was he really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I missed that.
And he was the voice of Lex Luthor on like the Superman animated series, Justice League, and all that. So
cool.
He's pretty well known as a voice actor. But it's always nice seeing him pop up and stuff like here and there.
Oh,
like
yeah.
He was on The Flash. All kinds of things. I think he's on Schooled, which is the Goldberg spinoff on ABC. Now,
Oh, cool.
He plays like the woodshop teacher because he looks like a woodshop teacher.
He does, though.
He looks like you're just common, but he looks like a kind of like a rugged, like a rugged guy, and I feel like that's what fits for his character of being the drill instructor, just because he has that aura, especially in that character of being somebody you don't want to mess with. And I feel like he was trying to channel, and I'm going to mess up his name. I feel it. Early Jones? No.
No, you're close.
Arlie Ermy?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, him. The drill instructor from Full Metal Jacket. Like,
oh, absolutely.
I feel like he was trying to channel him a little bit, and I feel like with what they had to work with, he did an excellent job, which gets to one of my top 10 favorite scenes in this movie, which when we start talking about boot camp, we'll get into that.
Okay. So while you guys are talking, I just added Full Metal Jacket to the list because I have never seen that.
Oh, dude. Okay, yeah, we need to watch that.
All right, so going through the rest of the supporting cast, I'm just going to do a few that I recognize. Michael Ironside plays the teacher at the beginning and then comes back later.
Ratchak,
yeah. I knew him from Smallville. He played Slade Wilson on that show.
I knew him as...
Really?
Yeah, in the last season.
I knew him as one of the villains from RoboCop.
Was he in RoboCop?
I think he was in RoboCop 2.
Oh, RoboCop 2.
Yeah.
Well, that's not RoboCop.
RoboCop 2 and RoboCop are good. Those two are I feel like they should just make a version of that movie where they cut some stuff out of both films and just splice them together.
Oh, he was also in Free Willy. He was a bad guy in Free Willy.
He plays a bad guy a lot. He really does.
He was the voice of the main character in the Splinter Cell video games.
Oh, no. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, he's got that voice for it.
Yeah. He was in Top Gun.
Everyone fights. No one quits.
Yeah. All right. And then another pleasant surprise was Dean Norris from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I was so happy he was in it.
I want to go back and rewatch Breaking Bad so badly. Like I feel it coming. Especially if they're actually doing a sequel movie, but it's always nice seeing him pop up and stuff.
I know.
Okay, so I'm bad with actors' names.
He's the commander who is at the boot camp who tells...
Oh, yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah.
All right.
And it wouldn't be legal, son.
Yeah. So going back to the cast member that surprised me the most, I was like, I know that person from somewhere. The biology teacher. Any guesses on who the biology teacher is?
No.
Just a cool old lady.
The biology teacher was played by Rue McClanahan, who is Blanche on Golden Girls.
Whoa!
I want to go back and rewatch this movie just for that because I completely missed that the first time around. Because
I missed that one too
because of the Doc Ock goggles that she had going on.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, in that scene, they're dissecting basically giant grubs. Well, not grubs, but like stink bugs or like ladybugs. Like they're just giant versions of them. So to have somebody like her dressed like that, to me completely fits, because first, what they're doing is completely hysterical and completely odd, for being able to, to see it, because they show you clips of the arachnoids a little bit during like the first like media segment. So like, they exist, and they talk about the bugs because they send an asteroid and you got that planetary defense, but they don't really show them like big bugs in real life. And that's when you get your first introduction of the characters with these giant bugs, and they're treating them like they were dissecting mice in a biology class. So just the ridiculousness of that scene fit that character, because like you said, she had the giant Doc Ock glasses and she was talking like a college professor almost.
Yeah. So Devin, what did you overall think of this movie?
Oh, overall, I loved it. it was one of those movies that I think I was kind of primed to like just because I'm me. I read a lot of sci-fi, and like it hit every one of those beats, man. Like started out on Earth, you had this like guy who was kind of an underdog, went off to join Space Marines. Like, oh, dude, every checkbox. Like, well done, movie.
The hero's journey.
Yeah. Also, well, before we get off a cast, there's one person that was in this movie that like I was most pleasantly surprised to see. It was Timothy Amundsen, the guy that plays Lassiter on Psych.
Oh man, I was really happy to see. He's like do you think you have psychic abilities?
Yeah, I was like, whoa, that guy.
I always love seeing him pop up and stuff. Like there are just some character actors that when you see them, it's like, oh man, like good for you. Like it's always nice seeing your face. Hopefully, I guess he's gonna be back for Psych 2, the movie.
I need to see Psych 1, the movie.
He's not in it because he had a stroke. So he has.
Oh no, that's awful.
Yeah. He's in like one Skype scene, and that's it. So he's supposed to have a big part in the second one because he's doing a lot better now.
Good.
But yeah, it was nice seeing him too. I knew I should have made notes because I completely forgot about that. I was like, oh, I need to talk about that one on the podcast, and luckily you saved the day. So I liked it too.
I'm very happy to hear that from both of you. I really, really am, because how much I love this movie and how much this movie is meant to me throughout my life. Like watching, because I mean, like I said, I haven't seen this movie in 2 weeks. That's kind of the reason why I asked you the night before if you've watched it yet, because I watched the movie like the night before I gave it to you, which was like a week and a half ago. And I was worried. I was like, there's going to be stuff that I'm going to forget. The back of my mind, I'm like, Ryan, you've seen this movie like 500 times since you were 13. You're fine.
No, it's just one of those things where I was like, I need to watch this. And I kept putting it off. And like Veronica Mars dropped early, and that messed up my whole schedule. So of watching stuff.
How was it?
We can do it. We'll talk about that later.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Like I said, it hit a lot of the same strokes as RoboCop did for me.
Yeah.
And I like that. Like it's a nice, like I can almost see this being the same world as RoboCop, like just in the future.
Yeah. Technology wise, it would make sense.
Yeah.
In all honesty.
I don't know why, but I kept thinking this movie came out in like 1999, which I know isn't a huge difference from 97, but it's a huge difference from 97.
Yeah.
Like I thought this was like a pre-Matrix 99 movie, but no, it's like 2 years before that.
Yeah. Like what blew me away when I was younger with this movie was the effects. Like I could not believe how good it looked compared to other movies at the time. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why I kept watching it until I became like 16, 17 years old. And that's when I stopped watching it for like just the entertainment value of watching them like it just Devon or Allen. I can't remember which one said the whole World War II feeling of it.
Oh yeah.
That was Devon. And at the time, I loved World War II movies, and I was like, "This is perfect. This is like my sci-fi, World War II war movie that I can watch." And I started getting more. I mean, even it's a campy movie and corny, yes, but there are things in this movie, Devon, that you alluded to about like the society that it's based around that really got me thinking about things. Again, like that quote. It's my third favorite movie quote of all time. Like it's in my top 3. And there's so much more that it's not quotes, but it's just actions and the way that they like present themselves.
One thing I will say about this movie is it borrows a lot from other science fiction.
Yeah.
Like the whole funeral scene.
Yeah.
I had to make sure I wasn't watching Wrath of Khan.
Oh yeah.
See, the thing is, and there are some things I feel like are universal with science fiction, and I feel like burial, I feel like that's part of it, because either you can go like, I would say the more, and I feel like Star Trek should have done it this way. You could do more of the like burning of the body type of funeral, where like where they do cremation. To me, makes more sense to a point, but I like the whole ejecting the casket into space at the same time.
Okay, Ryan. So if you burn Spock's body, he can't go, his corpse can't go down on the planet Genesis and regenerate for.
I know. But I know,
missing a whole movie.
I know, but I'm just saying when it comes to sci-fi, you can go one or two ways with it. You can go more logic, more science, or you can go more cultural, more tradition. And I feel like if you're going to go more logical sci-fi, you cremate any dead bodies. If you want to go more tradition, more culture based, which is Starship Troopers, you go by ejecting the casket into space.
Yeah, I'm just saying a lot of there are moments like that just reminded me of other things I've seen in science fiction film. So that was Star Trek. A lot of Rico's story is kind of like Luke Skywalker, where his family dies and he's no, I do want to go. Take me with you to Alderaan, like that kind of thing. So it's like the hero's journey type thing, which is like done to death. But yeah, that was the big thing. Like, and then like you have like the desert planets, which were reminding me a bit of Tatooine and
Which honestly, now that I recently watched Dune, and the bug planet reminds me of Dune to a point. Like it's not like just like a giant Sahara desert, but like the rocky parts of it.
I will watch Dune when the new one comes out, but
I know, I understand.
That is the only David Lynch thing you're making me watch on this podcast.
Yeah, no,
it is honestly, it is one of those like I tried to read it, I tried to watch it. Dune is hard for me to get through.
Yeah, I couldn't get through like the Dark Tower.
Oh, couldn't you?
No. I did the audiobook though. Maybe that's why.
I don't know. I didn't read any of it, but like that seems to be like the pinnacle of Stephen King.
Yeah. Which is a shame because I like other Stephen King. Like it just took me 3 months, but I finished it. Like yesterday I finally finished it. So
yay.
Yeah, I really like the graphics in this. The spaceships all look different. Like they're similar to other things that we've seen before, but they have their own look to them, their own style. The way they went into like the gravity field at that one point when the asteroids coming by was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the design of the bugs a lot. I thought they did a really good job of making the bugs feel very military, especially when they were attacking that like Mormon compound and you had like what looked like infantry bugs and what looked like artillery bugs and what looked like air support bugs. And I thought that was really interesting.
So the compound that they attack when Rico and the Roughnecks are there, that's not the Mormon outpost. That's a different outpost.
It's the Mormon
I'm just talking about the one
shot
where just before Diz dies.
Yeah. That looks. I'm pretty sure they just took down the Mormon thing for that. It's the same set.
It's the same set, but it's not the same base. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm like, that's the Mormon.
That's outpost. A common misconception. It's something that I had to learn myself, so I understand exactly where you're coming from. So I'm not hating. I'm not trying to shame you. It's the base that they're at is not the Mormon one that they talk about at during the newsreel clip.
It's just a different set dressing.
Like, it's a different set dressing. Yes.
Let's take down the Mormon tabernacle and just make it a military base now.
And put up a gun tower. So, since we're talking about the bugs, there's something I want to go back to.
Okay.
Because we talked about Zim, and I wanted one of my top 10 favorite scenes in this film happens during basic training, and it's when that guy's son,
Jake Busey
says, he goes, "Why are we throwing knives anyway? Because in a nuke fight, all you have to do is push a button." And Zim stops the knife throwing and says, "Put your hand on the wall." And he knows exactly what's coming to him when he does. So he hesitates, and then Zim yells at him, "Put your hand on that wall." So he does it, and he takes the knife, just throws it right into his palm. And he walks over, and he goes, "The enemy cannot push a button if you eliminate his hand, cut off his hand, something along those lines." And I laugh out loud every time I see that scene, just because it's so ridiculous. And then he pulls the knife out and goes, "Medic!"
The most ridiculous scene, like just going back to basic training, was when he takes the guy's helmet off and then he gets shot.
Yeah.
Like that was the most cartoony gore that I was talking about earlier.
True. But at the same time, I feel like the makeup design from The Ring took the face of the schoolgirl at the beginning when the mom walks in. And
never saw it.
Okay, that's fine. But I'm sure you've seen the still image of the girl in the closet with her mouth is all real open. It looks like she died when she was screaming. If you pause when he gets shot in the head and they have the prosthetic head with his mouth like way open, it's like 3 times. It's open like 2 times larger than it humanly could be. And it's almost exactly like the girl's face from The Ring when her mom walks into her after she's died.
Yeah.
Aww.
I'm just saying the makeup person who worked for The Ring was a fan of Starship Troopers, and I feel like that this movie has spread its tentacles into every genre of film in Hollywood.
Never say spread its tentacles again. I don't know why.
Say it more. Say it slower.
Like, just get ASMR that shit.
Oh yeah.
But okay, so speaking of, what was like your guys' favorite scene? Either by just like the culture thing for Devon, or what was funnier for you, or just a cool thing that they did.
I liked the fight scene before Rico was gonna get into a fight with was named Xander.
Yeah.
Which like good 90s name, by the way, Xander.
Yeah.
But where Rico was gonna fight Xander, and they publicly announced that rank had nothing to do with this, and like in society that's just cool. I thought that spoke a lot to like the culture of the culture of like the area, like what kind of society they lived in, that's just okay. Plus I liked that like that tension was there. You know what I mean? I was like, I'll see this character again. I like that there's this tension. Like I like that scene a lot.
Yeah, you stole mine, so I have to come up with another one.
Good. Hurry.
I like the scene where Rajchek killed the soldier who was taken by the bug.
Yeah.
And just turns to his guys and says, I'd expect any one of you to do the same for me. And then that's gonna happen to him like the next scene where he's gonna get taken and they have to put him out of his misery. I really like that, just that moment of this is like that's not anything any one of us should have to suffer. We should make sure that we take care of each other this way.
Yeah.
Which is another thing, like I said, that this movie, like, as I got to be 16, 17 years old watching this movie, I took a lot from it. And that was one of the things. It's like, in all honesty, yes, you don't want to kill another person. But, and this is why I believe that if somebody's ill enough, they should be able to opt to self-terminate. That's a thing right now that people tend to talk about. There's a lot of other stuff going on, but still, that's still a discussion going on in our society when it comes, should people be allowed to self-terminate if they're going through like severe medical issues? And because of that scene and self-reflection, thinking about that topic, I do. Because to be perfectly honest, if I'm on that planet and I get swooped up by a giant dragonfly, I'd want somebody to do that to me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing that this movie did do really well, though, is everything they set up had a payoff in some way. Like, it was like what Alan keeps saying, like, if you show a gun, you're going to use it. They basically did that all the time.
Yeah. Even with the psychic thing and her being a pilot. And
it's like the crazy medical care where they're just like, I stabbed him through his hand. He'll be fine the next scene. They even like showed you what their medical facilities were like a little bit. Like, I thought that was nice.
Okay, this brings something up. One of the issues I had with this movie, because as much as I enjoyed it, I have issues with it. Because why wouldn't I? Okay, so Rico dies. He's reported dead, but no, he's in the Batka tank getting the Luke Skywalker, the beginning of Empire treatment.
I'm glad you got that same reference, because that's exactly what I said.
Why do they list him as dead if he's alive? Is there any reason for that? Is it just a mistake?
Okay. The way that I took it, and this was back when I used to watch a ton of World War II stuff, like I was a 12-year-old watching History Channel documentaries on World War II the same way like a middle-aged white guy would around the same time. Like I didn't watch cartoons a lot. I watched black and white documentaries on Normandy and the French front and like all of that
Rommel's
stuff.
Up to.
Exactly. That was me. And to be perfectly honest, there was a lot of times in World War II, because again, the person who wrote this book was a veteran, and I believe it was World War II that he fought in, where you would have situations where you would have giant battles, and you would have the person who was collecting all of the data. He would say, "Hey, have you heard anything from this battalion?" And they would say, "No, they were all wiped out." So that means that they would just take the KIA logo and just put it over this whole battalion as KIA. But then 2 days later, it turns out that Private Jordan from Battalion X that was completely wiped out was found in a MASH unit like 2 miles away because somebody from a different unit found them, which they explained because the Roughnecks, they came around, got him, and brought them back, and because his entire unit was pretty much dead because all of the surviving members from boot camp died. His entire unit, except for him, was dead, except for Diz and that
Little
Abuser, yeah. So everybody else was dead, every single one of them. So that's why. Yeah, that's how I took it. That's how I wrote it.
And that
off.
makes sense. They just don't really explain it at all in the movie.
No, they don't. They don't.
Which I just thought was weird, but I guess he really is like the Luke Skywalker of this thing, isn't he?
He really is. Oh yeah.
Even
uses the Force a little bit at the end.
Does he though?
I think he does. I think
he used the Force. I'm sorry. Keep on
What's
going.
Up?
I was interrupting. I apologize. You go.
How I took it was, since statistically he should have gotten a card right at the end or in the very beginning, I thought he was a little psychic and intentionally getting it wrong because he was self-sabotaging. And that in the end, he was psychically communicating with Neil Patrick Harris because he just kind of knew he was.
That's a good take on it.
I feel like Johnny Rico is as psychic, and his psychic abilities are to the point of how Snoke had to connect Rey and Kylo. So I feel like that was entirely on Neil Patrick Harris, 100%. I feel that his military training perfected his ability to the point where he could do humans, like he said before. When he when Rico said after he told his ferret to go run up his mom's leg, he goes, "I really hope you don't do that to me." And he says, "Oh, I can't do humans." And he leans forward, looks at him. Yet.
Yeah.
No, another setup and payoff. Good job, movie.
I buy both of those. Like, I like them both.
Yeah.
Don't bring Snoke up on this podcast again.
It's a good analogy,
though. No, I'm kidding. I like Snoke. I think. I don't know. Didn't really see much of him.
Yeah.
I'm split on Snoke.
That's fine.
Right at the waist.
Too soon.
Is it though? Is it? So one of the other problems I have with this movie is there's a lot of horrible acting in this.
That's the appeal
it's
of it.
Intentional, though, right?
It has to be. At the point where you're casting little Gary Busey and Denise Richards, you can't be going for the Academy Awards for Best Actor.
We're going for gasps.
Yeah.
Here's how I took it. Okay, this movie, they did so well on the effects. They did so well in setting things up throughout the storyline. One could even say that they did a really good job on the story itself and on the storyline for just making it a good classic war sci-fi film, that they made sure to hit all those points. And I feel like if they would have gotten a bunch of actors to play it straight, I don't think this movie would be that enjoyable. I feel like I feel like the poor acting, the corny lines, the campiness of it, like kind of it's just like how Demolition Man and Starship Troopers share the same feel when it comes to the acting. The big difference is that Demolition Man has Sylvester Stallone and what's her name?
Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock, thank you. Has those two, and Starship Troopers has Busey.
Well, okay, so have you guys? This is gonna seem out of left field. Have you guys seen Human Centipede 1 and 2?
I've seen one.
I refuse to watch those movies
until now.
So
no, I'm not watching now.
I know, it's okay. So in Human Centipede 2, Human Centipede 1 is a movie in the second one. That's what this felt like for me. It felt like Starship Troopers, the movie, isn't a movie that exists in our universe. It exists in the Starship Troopers universe, and they use that movie as a recruitment tool to get people to join the Space Marines.
I'm flipping out over here.
It's propaganda, and that's what this movie is, and I love it.
That is one of the biggest fan theories on the internet for fans of this movie. Because if you read the book and the way that the book sets up its world and everything, and Devin, if you really want to know about the society from the movie, read the book, because that's one thing that I know that they didn't pull any punches from. The big theory is that the reason why the movie is so different from like the tone of the book is because the movie is a propaganda film that was made for the society that's in the book. So Starship Troopers, the film, is just a propaganda tool to get people to enlist in the Federation's army.
Yeah, I see it. I see it 100%.
So
on.
You've got it. I mean, that's one of the bigger fan theories for this film.
That's cool. I think it's cool. I think it's an interesting style of film. Like, the one guy at the military base that was like locked in the closet, like, oh my God, he was just chewing through the scenery every second he opened his mouth. And like, I kind of loved it though. Like, I don't know. I thought it was a cool stylistic choice.
Yeah. I absolutely love that part. And then the bug lands on him, which was just made it even like perfect. It was a perfect moment for something like that.
All right. So we got to wrap this up here soon.
Okay.
There have been several sequels to this. Ryan, how many of them have you seen?
None, because I've heard it's all pretty much softcore porn, and
oh no!
And what's wrong with that?
Look, nothing's wrong with that. The reason why I haven't seen any of them is because I'm afraid to watch them. It's one of those things because I like this movie so much, and I know that none of my favorite I'm really confused on which movies has the actors from the first one.
Okay, from the looks of it, Rico comes back in 3. And it also looks like 3 is the last live action one that they made.
Yeah, because after that, there was a TV show that they made up based off of this.
Oh.
A lot. I think it was like 1 or 2 seasons. It didn't do too well.
It's like a cartoon.
Yeah.
And then there's a 5th cartoon movie that came out in 2017 that has Rico and Diz in it.
What?
Yeah, I don't know how she's in it. I even looked last night.
She's a robot.
I don't know.
I need to because
it's called Trader of Mars.
I just need to watch it again.
I might watch that one.
Watch them again. I just need to watch them. I need to get over it and watch it just because I saw once on a fan forum for the second one, and this one person, somebody asked a question in the forum about would anybody here recommend the sequels to this film? And out of it was this thread on the forum went maybe like 6 pages, so there's probably like 200 comments on it, and I read through the first 50, and every single person was saying don't bother, it's basically just softcore porn. Don't, it if you really want to watch it, go ahead, but you don't need to. Like, that was the responses to this person, so I just threw them off to the side, never cared about the sequels.
I feel like you should approach it the same way I approach Independence Day and its sequel. Watch it
and just
watch it once.
Yeah.
And then, okay, never again.
Did it.
So there's a few things, like I said, from watching like all the like the World War II stuff, and that's kind of why I like grasp onto this movie. One of the things that I love about this film, and it was also on like it was also, I think it was on Movie Magic on Discovery Channel in the 90s when that was a show, where they talked about the effects, and they talked about specifically about the ships, about the spaceships. And they said that they wanted, because they're Marines, they're intergalactic Marines, they wanted the ships to move like ships. They didn't want them to move like Star Wars ships, and they didn't want them to move like Star Trek ships. They wanted these ships to move like they were battleships on the ocean, but in space. Mm-hmm. So that's why they have these like big gating moves where they have to like sway, and they've got to like, kind of, like when they're going towards that asteroid because of the gravity disturbance, and they have to like time it at just the right moment to get the boosters to like go down and go under. It was almost like they were waiting on to get the rudders right and to get the, to get the ship to go like reverse at the right time to get it to like swing to the left or something.
Yeah.
But just the feel of those spaceships to me are just perfect. Like if I was, Thanos and I had the gravity, or not the gravity, but the gauntlet. Mm-hmm. One of the things I'd bring into existence, NASA would just have a fleet of those ships. Like to me in sci-fi, those are like the perfect like battle cruiser starships for me.
Space Force.
Like, yeah, I mean, I'm serious. Like the space design, I loved how the jump ships, the boats that they called them, that they launched down to the surface in. I loved how they looked like U-boats from World War II. They were just from space because the fronts came down, and holy extras, Batman.
Yeah,
there's a reason why Hollywood is full of those costumes and why they use them everywhere they can.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. So I know they've showed up in Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, because that's the second season when they're in space and on the space station. And they have like a whole.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they show up in that.
Okay.
Do they show up in Firefly?
Yes, they are also in Firefly.
Were they in Firefly? Who wears them?
I want to say the Federation, whatever the big government is in Firefly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, they show up in there too. I knew there was another one. I couldn't remember.
It's okay.
But yeah, so they definitely got their money's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
One thing that I'm sorry, I'm all over the place because there's things about this movie that I feel like people don't like. People are like, oh, it's a corny movie, but there's so much stuff in it that I love. Like Devin, you said about how like the culture that like this the thing is set in, like everybody's treated equally. Mm-hmm. Diz, the secondary love interest, she's the quarterback of the high school indoor, like she was the captain,
whatever the future football
that like indoor arena type football thing that they were playing. Like she's the team captain on a football team with a bunch of guys playing, and also as other women playing. But even in the military, they're in basic training shoulder to shoulder. There's no women bunk and men bunk. They're all together. And I love this. I love how I love the shower scene, and I know that sounds really like, I know how that sounds, but if you watch the movie and you see this scene, they're just showering. Mm-hmm. They're in a gang shower, and they're showering, and there's nudity, but they're talking like a bunch of people in the military would talk if they were in basic and they were in a shower. They're getting to know each other. They're talking about this and that. The one person's talking about how they can't get into Harvard, so that's why he's in the military, to get into Harvard. And then they ask another person why she's there, and she wants to have a baby because it's easier for a citizen to get a license compared to a civilian to become a baby, and she wants to go is into politics. Like, I love that scene because it shows full equality. Like to me, that is like when people talk about equality and where we want to go to. I like to point to this movie and say that's where I want to go to.
And then people back away slowly because they've never seen the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It was also a nice bit of pre-Game of Thrones sex position. They're like, we're going to talk about this boring stuff, but here's a bunch of boobs to keep you interested.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, here's a bunch of boobs to keep you interested. They were all normal people. Like, these aren't these aren't like Baywatch models. Like, they were just normal actresses that they were and actors that they got to like be in the scene. Like, that's another thing that I like about it, that it's normal people.
Yeah.
Granted, they're young and fit, but still.
I mean, except for Rico. Like, I feel like Rico in this one, like his jaw, like, oh my god.
You could.
I don't have any better word. Like, his jaw is the most intimidating thing in this movie.
Okay, not to brag a little bit, but that's another reason why I like this movie is because I've put on some on my face here, but I've been told by many a person that when I was younger, I had that jawline.
I'm impressed. I'm very impressed.
Jawline. I'll show you some of my old MySpace pictures. I had that jawline.
Yes.
Oh God. All right. I think that's about it. I can't think of anything else to cover.
I think I'm good. I liked
anything
it.
Else?
Devin, was there anything about this movie that you didn't like? Just like Alan, like anything that you were like, about? I'm happy that you like it this much, but still, like,
I think here, this is a little bit weird of me, but the second that the bugs attacked Earth and killed or blew up Buenos Aires, I wanted the movie to become a conspiracy theory movie, and I wanted that attack to have been done as a false flag operation by the Federation in order to incite war, to start war on that planet so we could harvest its resources. That's where I wanted the movie to go, and the movie was much more straightforward than that, and that was not the movie. I think my biggest problem was I wanted the intrigue movie, and I didn't get the intrigue movie, but I appreciate what it did.
Okay.
Like, I like the second they blew up Buenos Aires, I was like, too conveniently timed movie. But that was it.
That would have been that would be an interesting movie.
I feel like if they were to go that route, I feel like getting more straight actors, like more like non-corny, like I feel like the acting like style would have to be a bit more serious if they were going to go that route. But that's definitely a very interesting way of going about that storyline, especially because the planetary defenses didn't work.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they show them work, because another bug meteorite comes into the Earth's like area and these two cannons zoom over and pow, and it goes kaboom.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that is it. I think that's all we've got for Starship Troopers. So
this is one of my top 10 movies of all time.
Are you happy now?
I'm so happy we did this. I'm still going to reference it forever, but I mean,
like
at least you guys understand why.
I feel like since you made us watch this, we should make you watch Human Centipede.
There's no... These two movies are not even on the same scale.
Yeah, well, at one point we'll have to talk about movies we'll never watch and refuse to watch. And,
I feel like that'd be a good episode.
But tune in next week where we continue our journey through the View Askewverse and take a look at Kevin Smith's film Dogma. Reboot's coming, boys. It's almost here. Trailer's out. So
I can't wait.
So for You Have to Watch This Podcast, I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And we'll see you next week.
Do you want to know more?